What is up, everybody? It is the MLB Swing for the Fences show. I don't know why the graphic's not up. I'm going to get it up for us, though, right this second. But we got a beautiful day. The Colorado Rockies, they still suck here in Denver, JT Hayes, and it's a nice federal holiday. So I was wondering, how have you celebrated today's holiday, JT Hayes?
Well, it is a federal holiday, and I celebrated by taking an early flight out of D.C. to get home. And so my left ear hasn't popped yet. So my hearing is not all the way impacted, but it's a little less pleasant than it normally feels. I also celebrated, sweet Travis, by putting up an early core, even though I got home right about a half hour before the game started. Took a quick look at some things, and you know what happens sometimes when you're doing things quickly. I decided that it wasn't a decision. I put 4 outfielders, Travis, in my core. And you know what happens when 4 outfielders find their way into the core, right? There's always someone who's like, how does JT get to play 4 outfielders? And my buddy C-Mac says it's the Onyx level. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter, Travis, because guess what? Out of those 4 outfielders, they hit 5 home runs. 2 from James Wood, Trout, Adele, Taylor Ward. I mean, what more do the people want on a Thursday, a federal holiday, if you will?
Not only that, a thirsty Thursday, JT Hayes.
Thirsty Thursday.
As our guy, Mr. Broccoli Taco, mentions. Yes, Uncle T is in the chat hanging out. I am here talking some MLB with the people. Of course, we got JT here giving out winners, and he'll give out winners in the next slate as well. Maybe he'll give out 4 outfielders again for the good mojo, like our guy DC, who is not here. DC is away for 4 days. I don't know if he's celebrating the federal holiday. I don't know what the excuse is, but he's gone for 4 days. Let's see, chat. What do you think DC is up to? I don't know if he told you guys in the last show, but JT, what do you think DC is doing this weekend?
I think he went out to join some of the riots that have been going on. So that's my guess. Uncle T is in chat. Didn't even say hello to me. Said hello to you. Lion Cubs is in here. Do we think the chick from Boston didn't actually kill her husband? First of all, they weren't married. Lion Cubs. I mean, if you're gonna pay attention to pop culture and what's going on in the courts, and in particular the biggest, I guess the second biggest, although it started before the Diddy trial, Karen Reed. I mean, the Karen Reed trial was huge. It's the second trial. First trial, a hung jury. This one, she was acquitted, except for a lesser offense that they added just because I guess they felt guilty, not taking any ounce of flesh. But Christian Lyon, I mean, a lot of issues with the police investigation. If I was on the jury, I would have found it hard to convict. And I'm usually predisposed to, convictions.
Yeah, I don't know too much on the trial, JT. I've been not grinding that out. I've been grinding Madden Sims. That's what I've been doing in my free time. So I love the and hanging out with Elf. You love my buddy Elf.
Yeah. So what's going on, Travis? Every time, and it's late at night, and I'm scrolling just because I can't fall asleep, and I'm getting ready, and you're talking about Elf. There was one where you were talking about erectile dysfunction. You're talking on all these spaces about different types of topics that, quite frankly, I mean, some of us are worried. Some of us are worried maybe you were spiraling. All of us have ups and downs. Uncle T, by the way, on a massive up right now in MLB. But, maybe one of those downs and you just spiral and you go into a dark place and you're trying to hang out with the elves and talking about all sorts of wild things. What's going on with the Twitter spaces, Travis? You're trying to be Insta famous? You're trying to gain a little celebrity here from Run Pure Sports?
No, I'm just hanging out with a guy I like. That's all. So, and I also, JT, to be fair, I haven't been able to walk until Tuesday. It's been 6 weeks without walking. So I'm
when you say you're hanging out with a guy you like, how do you mean that?
I mean, I think he's a good guy. You know what I mean? I don't know too much, right? I've never met the person in person, right? You never know until you meet someone in person or get to know him a little more. But he seems like a good guy. So.
Right.
Okay. Riles, walking is overrated. I'll tell you this: walking is not overrated. I missed walking.
I mean, not when you can't walk, Travis. I mean, not when you're bound to a scooter or a wheelchair, whatever you've been in for the last 6 weeks. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I've been watching a lot of Sopranos. I've been kind of like slow playing it. I don't want it to end. I'm enjoying it so much, kind of just taking it in and not trying to finish it too fast. Also,
Watching The Sopranos and hanging out with a guy that you like. I mean,
hey,
who's got it better than you?
no one's got it better than me. Uncle T, the rope on the floor. Don't be alarmed. It's something plugged in. It's one of the, I don't know.
That's for when Elf visits for the first time. The rope back there.
Jeez. Oh man. We got a good time going on in the chat. That's why you got to become a Run Pure Sports member over here. Sign up. You can use the free code. I believe it's JBC100K. I think that's the full code. Get that free one. Uncle T, I would love a fresh box of candy sticks. I would, but I am going to the dentist tomorrow. I don't think the dentist would appreciate that. So I gotta take care of some stuff tomorrow. But I am here hanging out with you guys talking MLB. And JT, it's the perfect show for us to be on together. You know why? The Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets are on, and the New York Mets have been on fire until this recent losing stretch. So you get to rip me apart and tell me how the Mets are going to be terrible now.
You know, it's funny because we've got a couple of Mets fans in the chat. It's honestly, it's disgusting how many Mets fans are in there right now. As you know, I'm a recovering Mets fan. I was broken by the Wilpons, had to move out of the city just to get away from the stench of them and their disastrous investments, and found myself in Atlanta. And Joe Cole, we were talking about, and I said, it looks like the Mets are, the Mets are cheeks when they face, anybody but the Rockies and the White Sox. And then, they lose, get swept by the Rays. They've now lost 2 out of the 3 to the Braves down here. Of course, we're going to talk about tonight's game. But then I said, and Joe was, he's digging through the data, a very, very loyal, rabid Mets fan. And he said that the Mets have, number one, he posted something in there, they've hit the ball the hardest of any team. There's a 9% difference between first and last. It's one of the things that tilts me in the chat, Travis, is when you see people go, 107 mile per hour double play. They hit the ball hard. They're Major League Baseball players. They hit the ball hard. I had a coach when I was 18 who said the only thing changes in baseball as you get up the rungs of professional baseball is the game gets faster. Ball travels faster. That's it. Players run faster. That's it. They hit the ball hard. It's not crazy. Back to the Mets, though, I said, and Joe Cole pointed out, hey, they have the best record against teams over 500 and, struggling against the Rockies, the White Sox, now the Braves. I said, maybe they're just cheeks when they play teams that are under 500. And maybe when they play the teams over 500, they'll do better.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. It was a long rant, Uncle T. I was kind of listening, but I tried to tune some of it out because he's a Braves fan. It's a bunch of
Mako was pretty clear with me that I was going to have to carry the show, so I'm just trying to talk enough to entertain you all and maybe get to your questions because that's the way this is going to go. And it's because Travis, again, I think there's a little depression going on here because he hasn't been able to walk.
Maybe that's the case. I will say I've been actively updating the head-to-head lobby in the Madden sims, waiting for this fish to scoop. And hey, that's why I need you to cover for me a little, JT. And good news, the fish has arrived. So yeah, I'm about to scoop him up for my Madden Sims team. So it was a good morning slate. Got to have a good afternoon slate. I know it's your favorite. Also, we got Pooh in the background. Also, before we start, JT, again, 5 games. We'll get to it. Whoever the complainer is in the chat. How's my niece Quinn doing? How's the little girl doing over there?
Yeah, so we left last Saturday. We flew up to Maine. We were supposed to be on vacation all week, and I had to leave early and go down to DC. So I picked her up a day early. She's over here snoozing. She was with a dog sitter who has another pug. That pug's name is Benji. So she's been playing with Benji all week. She's here now. She's excited. Back to Pooh, back to the house, back in her comfortable environment. So she's doing well, though. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have to make sure she's doing well over there. We can dive into some MLB. We can start chatting about it. So JT, we have an earlier lock. It's worth mentioning. I know we've had earlier locks this season, right? But it's a 5-game slate. Slate starts at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. And the old guys pod. Yeah, we need to get that back together for sure.
Got to do something. Got to do something, Uncle T.
Yeah. Chris, you're right. MSI, League of Legends, June 27th, 8 days away. I can't wait for MSI. JT will be giving an MSI core in the Discord chat for you guys. Don't worry. He gives out League of Legends cores. Feel free to DM him on the side, and he will help you out.
DM me about anything. By the way, one more point on the 4 outfielders and all of them hitting home runs and James Wood hitting 2 is that the kid, who sometimes is in here, he's always in the chat because he's destitute, lives with his grandparents. But what he said is, if all 4 of my outfielders hit home runs, he was going to dress himself in banana peels, go down to the elephant park, and take a nap. So I need for this to happen. Travis, how do you feel about someone welching on a bet? Can't happen, right?
I'm definitely not team welching on a bet. That is something that is not allowed. I
remember there was someone who used to be here who welched on a bet with you, and you were very upset. You were very upset.
I was upset for a while. Eventually, amends was made. Right. Eventually, we got there. But yeah, I'm not a big welcher of bets. I'm not happy, and you got to pay up. So I think this has to happen. I'll just say this: this seems like a pretty big thing that he's committed to.
I don't care.
He doesn't. I know he doesn't have to do it.
First of all, look, Lone Wolf. We're gonna get to the baseball. When you put 4 outfielders in your core, and they hit 5 home runs, I mean,
no. Typically, my rule is, hey, if you make a bet, you got 24 hours basically to do it. But I give him a week, right? I think this is not something you have to do right away. It seems a little complicated.
I mean, listen. Let's be honest. He's going to give his life for his stupidity, and I think that's fair. I think it's fair. I think he should do that pretty soon. I would like to see him die today.
For sure. Let's dive into the baseball. Let's talk about the first game: Philadelphia Phillies and the Miami Marlins, and we got 2 pitchers up. One, Christopher Sanchez, which great matchup for him. 9K. Definitely a spot that you could like. I know I looked at some of his – he's been on the Saturday slates where I've done the playbook, so I've dug pretty deep into his data. Some of his stuff has been pretty good. Edward Cabrera on the opposite side. He is someone that he's only 7K, and he's shown a ceiling, right? Against the Angels and against the Giants, he's shown it. The thing that I look for in cheap pitchers is, one, do you have a ceiling, right? And he certainly checks that box. We're trying to win tournaments, right? I think that's a huge part to mention. We have a slate too. I should call this out. We have a slate with bats that you like to spend on, right? The Dodgers are on this slate. San Diego's on this slate. We have bats that you're willing to spend on. And I think Cabrera is in GPP conversation. Now, I don't know how much percentage or what the number should be, but I think we have to at least have him in the pool and kind of figure that out. So for me, I think both pitchers are in play for me. When it comes to the bats, JT, Phillies are pretty much in play almost on any slate, especially against a Marlins pitcher. This is one of those spots. You could say you could play either side. They have a decent run total. It's not the best on the slate. It's not the worst. But the Phillies have upside, and they have power and pop that can get the job done. So I think they're definitely in the conversation. I think both these pitchers are. I'm not really interested that much in the Marlins side of the ball, unless it's like a one-off here and there. Like Eric Wagman, I know he can hit some bombs, right? If you're kind of chasing some home run one-offs, I don't think it's terrible. It is a 5-game slate, so a lot of stuff is going to be in play. But what are you doing with the pitchers? And then I think the Phillies side specifically, we have to figure out what are we doing to them relative to, the Braves, the Dodgers, and I guess the Astros.
Yeah, first of all, Mike B, a pug named Gizmo. That's awesome, man. That's a great name for a sweet little puggy. Look, so Sanchez, 9K, Travis, right? When you're paying 9K for a pitcher, I want a little bit more than a 19% strikeout rate, I think, which is what Sanchez has shown over his last 5 starts, and those include 2 pretty good starts. Actually, a little more than that, 22%. But the thing that surprised me as I was going through this slate was that Sanchez actually has one of the lower strikeout percentages on the slate. Now, he does have one of the better matchups on the slate against the Marlins. I just think he's fairly priced. I think that he's probably going to land and be in my pool, but I don't think he'll be among my favorites here on this slate. I'm not Cabrera, like you said. We it's been a little while since we've seen his ceiling. 7K is a decent price. I just think if I'm playing him, I'm only playing a small percentage of him. Probably more Sanchez. As far as the bats, not in love with either side. I think certainly Sanchez is going to be a little bit more popular if you wanted to take some chances on the Marlins in tournaments, just because he has Sanchez with that 22% strikeout percentage been a little bit lucky in terms of leaving runners on base. So I think he's fine, but this game overall is not one that I'm going to have a ton of exposure to.
Yeah, another thing we should mention today, weather-wise, just to kind of get ahead on some of that. There's not too much weather really to worry about, I think, in these games. So when you are going through everything, don't worry too much about the weather. Phillies, yeah, I am going to like the Astros more than the Dodgers, right? It just kind of makes sense. But when you kind of like calculate ownership, I do think the Phillies will be on, maybe on the lowerish side. I'm curious to see what they end up coming on. Like, everyone is double digits. It's only a 5-game slate, but like, I don't know. Does it dip down to like 6 or 5 on some of these guys? I'm not sure. It definitely could. Nick Castellanos is one value that sticks out. And Max Kepler at 3-4, batting 5th. That's another value that sticks out. So there's value amongst the lineup. Alec Boehm in the 3-hole, he's 3.8K. So you got value. You got studs you can spend on if you want to. And Trey Turner and Schwarber. Lots of ways to go here. And you got a punt catcher. Don't forget that. Punt catchers are always popular that people like to kind of get to help fill out your stack and get the pitchers and bats that you want. All right, let's get on over to the Mets and the Braves. And JT, I've been watching the Mets for a very long time. I regret not betting against the Mets for like the past, like since Saturday, because I knew this was just going to come crashing down. It has came crashing down on them. It has not been great. I don't think it turns around in this game with Spencer Strider on the mound, but hey, Clay Holmes has been good, man. People have definitely been kind of talking crap about Clay Holmes and thought he wouldn't be able to get the job done. He's been good. Is this the spot though against the Braves? I do think if you look at this Braves offense, they are going to get ownership on a short slate. I'll give you kind of some of the ownerships we're looking at. Probably actually everyone's only 10%. Actually, the Phillies are higher than them, which actually surprises me a little bit, but Verdugo, obviously 3.3K. He's going to be a value. He's been a value over the past week or so. Ronald Acuna, 6.4. I know he has been on fire. I see 9%. I think that is going to be a little bit higher on a 5-game slate. But I like the pitchers. I think both are in play. I don't know who's going to win the game, right? I do think the Mets have a shot to take it, though. I don't think I would attack Spencer Strider with this Mets offense, but JT, this Mets offense has been great. Our guy, J. Cole, we know what he's been saying, that they've been smashing the ball. Hitting it hard. Now they get Spencer Strider, and they're going to be under 10%. This is a spot to take a chance on the Mets, I think, at very low ownership if you want to. Like, I think it's the opportunity's there for a 5-game slate, right? If you tell me one of the best offenses in the league is currently under 10% on a 5-game slate, I mean, you'd be interested in that on an 8-game slate, on a 10-game slate. The question is, it's against Spencer Strider. And I did look at some of his advanced numbers I remember last Saturday before the game, and those numbers, I mean, his xFIP wasn't great. His FIP wasn't great, right? They were just sitting in the 4s. So I think there is some juice to squeeze here with this Mets offense in GPPs. Again, we're trying to win tournaments. I know you're a Braves fan, I'm a Mets fan, so maybe there's some bias there on my part, but tell me what you're doing here with both these pitchers and then the offenses that will be a little bit lower owned for the caliber of offenses we got on the slate.
Yeah, I'll start with the Mets side and Clay Holmes at 7,500. Clay Holmes, very good start to the season. You're right about that. And it still looks like the Mets made a good gamble on Clay Holmes. To be determined on Griffin Canning, who started out with the same type of, hot start that Holmes did. But look, I mean, Holmes over the last 5-6 starts, 16% strikeout rate. Okay, but here's who he's faced in those 4 starts. The White Sox, the Rockies, and the Rays. He's left 97% of runners on. And I played pitchers a lot against the Braves this season. Ronald Acuna has been a difference maker since he's come back. He's been the hottest player in baseball over the last 2 weeks. I think this Holmes price is going to suck a lot of people in. Say, wow, 7,500. This was a guy who was priced at 9K. I think it's the trappiest price on the slate. Clay Holmes, based on what I've seen. So you mentioned Alex Verdugo, 3,300. Look, just do yourself a favor, X him out. He has not been hitting the ball hard. He's not been getting fantasy points. He's been getting pinch hit for fairly early in games. As soon as Holmes is gone, they bring a left-hander in. He's going to go out. Verdugo, I actually had some lineups with him in there last night, and I was so annoyed that I didn't catch it and X him out. That's going to be one of the first things I do on this slate. I think the more interesting point you bring up is Spencer Strider. Now, Spencer Strider, last game, 13 strikeouts against the Colorado Rockies. And if you look at the velocity, it did tick up a bit, but still nowhere near the 99, 100 miles an hour average, 97, 98 average that he is at. He was more in the 94 to 97 range, and a lot of those pitches were 95 or below. Before the breakout game against the Rockies, who, I mean, everybody is striking out a bunch of Rockies. 5 strikeouts against the Giants, 4 strikeouts against the Diamondbacks. I think this game is a shootout here in Atlanta. On the Mets side, I agree with you on that. I think that Strider at 10-6 going to be popular. And I keep saying this. People keep thinking this is Spencer Strider of a couple of years ago. It's not. And I think they're going to chase this game against the Rockies. Mets do not strike out him at nearly as much, not even close, not even the same universe as the Rockies. I think this is not going to be a spot where – I think it's a spot where you look at the end of the night and neither one of these pitchers are going to be anywhere close to optimal. So I like the bats here. I'm going to be I'm not sure, Travis. I'm definitely fading Clay Holmes completely. I'm not sure if I'm going to fade Strider completely, but my head tells me that I should be out on Strider at 10-6 against this Mets team. When do we play 10, 11K priced pitchers against the Mets? It usually doesn't work out well.
You heard it here first. The bald head says fade Spencer Strider at 10.6K. And I'm sort of with you, JT. I don't think it's the greatest idea. Also, I think Vegas agrees. And one thing that was said in the chat by James, the game against the Rockies, when he had the 13 strikeouts, it was against the Rockies. Have to take that out with a grain of salt. I agree. When I looked at the numbers too, I thought the same thing. And then I leaned on Vegas, right? I saw what the props were, and they looked so promising on him. Today, they're still giving respect with the 7.5. But my problem is, it's juiced on the under at minus 155, and it's just like unbettable to the point where I would even bet the under on 6.5. I could find some alternative unders if I could. And I just kind of think overall this is a spot where Strider could get lit up, and I'm interested in the Mets. I think it's worth kind of at the ownership, right? If we're talking trying to win a tournament and get to the top of the leaderboard on a 5-game slate, this is an offense that can get the job done. I'm interested in the Mets here. I think they got to be in play.
Travis, just as someone was DMing me in the chat, and they wanted me to let you know this. They said that me as a non-Mets fan saying that I think the Mets are a good play today on offense against Strider was much more meaningful than you saying it as a biased homer. I didn't say that. Someone DM'd me to say that, and I just wanted to let you know because we're friends. I want to be transparent. I want you to know what the people are thinking. I think it's good feedback.
Sure. I mean, I think that is good feedback. I wouldn't, of course, if I like the Mets, I could see why you would not take it with as much, valuable information because you might think there's a bias there. It's like when our guy Vip posted Texas Rangers core. I go, oh, of course he posted a Texas.
Yeah. Who cares? Who cares?
That's how I feel.
If Vip, here's the thing. Same thing, right? If Vip says, right, play the pitcher against the Rangers.
Yeah, there you go.
I take that a little bit more seriously.
Agreed.
It a little bit more seriously. I'm like, okay, all right. This is someone who's clearly got a very, very strong bias. But seriously, I usually nice Kevin, vicious, nice Kevin. I like I said, I have been playing pitchers against the Braves. Not going to do it here tonight.
Yeah, also, Coward, out yourself in the chat. You don't have to DM privately, okay? If you watch the Elf show, you know, we don't like burners, right? We like people that.
This is a great point. I want to. There's 551 people. There's probably 11 people who care about what I'm about to ask you. But when is your next Spaces? When are you going to be? When are these impromptu things or? Are you expected? Do you have a schedule?
No, I jump on when I want to. I just see if he's live and I see if I like the conversation going on. Actually, I think he's live right now. I don't think I'll be on tonight because I'm going to go out tonight, but probably Sunday or Monday maybe, because I don't think he does too much on Friday or Saturday. So I think that's
the where are you going tonight?
I'm going to watch my friends play basketball because I can't play. So
all right.
Go hang out.
When do you think you'll meet Elf?
What?
When do you think you'll meet Elf in person?
I don't know. Maybe at Bet Bash. There's a betting conference in August that people go to.
Where is Bet Bash?
It's in Vegas. A bunch of people go. I don't know.
Vegas?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go. Probably not, but we'll see. You never know. Never know if
will you be healed by then?
Yeah, I should be. My PT is probably over. I don't know, mid-July. I think I'm able to get back to like real activities, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I feel like doing. Vegas is fun, but I mean, I don't know. I got to see the dates.
It wouldn't be Vegas. It would be going to meet Elf. I mean, that would be the draw.
That is fair, but it's hot. It's also hot. Have you ever been to Vegas in August, JT?
I have.
I've been in June and it was brutal. So I don't know. I can't stand
it. It's warm. It's toasty.
All right. Hopefully, speaking of toasty, hopefully the Braves are toast tonight. That's the hope thing. Don Yeezy, I do have the knee scooter. I do have the knee scooter still, but I don't use it anymore. So there you go.
I got Myers.
We don't care. We want fucking winners.
Right,
Myers, we gave you the Mets, okay? We like the Mets.
You know what's crazy? We can only block people from the chat. We can't like just completely, turn the thing off on them as a punishment. That would be pretty funny.
You know what we should do as a punishment? This is what we should do. We should say, hey, Myers, I want you and the kid to get on a show and do an hour show, and you're not allowed to talk nonsense. You need to talk baseball for 5 games for a straight hour. I need you to dig into the WOBAs and the XFIPs and all of it. You need to do that. Good luck. Good luck with that one, Myers. It's tougher than you think to fill an hour of air.
Myers could do it. The kid is just a sloppy mess. Like I said, he lives in his grandparents' basement, and he's on the endangered species list. He's getting in the banana peels, and he's going to the elephant park. I can't wait.
You can't, Myers, because you have to talk WOBA. You got to talk baseball only, right? If you're getting on us about getting a little off topic, you can't get off topic either. So there you go. Mike B, the Nerds is Stochastic. That's actually pretty funny. I mean, you could dig into it, but we like to have fun here. We like to, loosen up. We like to have a good time. So there you go. But all right. Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays that owned my New York Mets. We'll obviously get to this game and talk about the pitching because there are, Drew Rasmussen. I always struggle with that name, but he has been solid this year. He's definitely not a bad option. He's going up against the Baltimore Orioles. And I don't know, this team stinks. I mean, overall this season, right? They have not been good. They've been a bunch of underachievers. Seems like an interesting spot to play him at 7.8K. I think he is a good value arm on this slate that you can take advantage of. Charlie Morton on the opposite side, JT. I know you are not a Charlie Morton guy. But to be fair, if we look at his recent outings, I know they were against the Angels and the White Sox. There's some good ones against St. Louis. Like, listen, there's been some good games. And we like pitchers that are cheap that can find good outings, okay? And he has the ability to do that, JT. If we also look at some of the other numbers, let's look at the ownership on these pitchers here, JT. These guys are coming in at 25%, both of them. So they're clearly getting some ownership. It is a 5-game slate. What is the decision on these value arms? For me, I think Rasmussen, I think he, Mr. Drew R., is my favorite value in this game when it comes to the pitchers. Morton, I struggle a little bit more with. I feel like he's had those games. I don't think it's coming here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have found something in the pitching metrics. Maybe you've seen an uptick in velocity or spin rate or something in the WOBA of the opposing team. But what is your thoughts on both these pitchers? And, of course, the offense has got to be a little bit in play here. What's your thoughts, though?
Yeah, so first let's talk about the weather. There's some weather in the area, Tampa in the summer. So there's a chance of showers, probably not going to impact, but it could, which is something to keep in mind more so on the pitcher's side than on the hitter side, because unless it's a hurricane, nothing really lasts for a long time over one place in Florida. But Charlie Morton, you mentioned it, last 3 starts, pretty good starts, had a couple of upside starts, but they were against the White Sox, the A's, and the Angels. I think the way baseball is this season, particularly, much more so than in the past, it's important to take a look at who a pitcher has been facing. And what does the next opponent look like? And when you go from facing the White Sox, the A's outside of their small park in Sacramento, and the Los Angeles Angels to the Rays in a small park, who've been the hottest team in baseball, Charlie Morton's a straight fade for me tonight. I don't care what the price is. I like the Rays here to score a bunch of runs again. They're one of my favorite offenses on the entire slate. Rasmussen, which by the way is, if you want for the future, Drew Rasmussen, that's his name. We will help you out. But Rasmussen 7,800 metrics comes in pretty good. He comes in as, over the past six weeks or so, third best pitcher on this slate. And I think at 7,800, the only thing that wants me to maybe temper my interest in him, well, it's two things here, would normally be. One, the weather, but I'm not really as concerned about the weather. And then the second is how the Rays manage pitching. But such a bad start for Taj Bradley last night that maybe Rasmussen, if he's pitching well, the Rays are never going to give a guy an extra 2 innings. They're never going to give a guy an opportunity to complete a game because of massive usage in the bullpen. But I think you may see an extra inning. You may see him get up around or above 100 pitches. And for this price point at 7,800, I think it's enough to go even with the field, maybe a little bit over on Drew Rasmussen, off on Morton, and I'm going to have a lot of Rays tonight.
Yeah, I like the Rays call. Some options I definitely like, of course. Brandon Lowe, I always like him. He is someone I like to play at second base, 4.4K. Think he's a good option. You got Jonathan Aranda in the 4-hole, another good option to kind of get to. A lot of good plays. Danny Johnson, 2.9K as a punt catcher. So we got punt catchers on the slate. And then Jake Magna, he's another cheap option to go to the outfield. But a lot of guys you can get to here. The highest price guy is 4.4K. The lowest price guy is 2.9. So you can load up on these guys. And if you want Spencer Strider, you can get him in your lineup or any other stud pitcher on this slate. I agree. It's a Rays slate over the Orioles. That's kind of my lean there. Sounds like we are in agreement. Let's get on over to the next game. Acuna, Altuve, and Kowser, the all milk parlay.
I don't understand what that means, Travis. Do you understand what that means?
I don't think I get it.
Nice, Kevin. That's bizarre. Are you trying to degrade someone? I mean, it'd be nice to have an explanation.
On Juneteenth too. I don't know. I think there's a lot there. I don't know. There's something going on there. I don't know, but we'll have to see. I do want to talk about this next game though, JT, because the weather isn't hot. Okay, I was curious how hot it was going to be, but it's I guess it's like third hottest game on the slate, so there's not like huge weather advantages. But Houston and the Athletics, and yesterday that game was 99 degrees. It was hot in not Oakland, but Sacramento. I guess they play in now. Is that where they play, JT?
Where?
Oh, the A's. They play in Sacramento now. Is that correct?
Sutter Health Park. Sutter Health Park, Travis, Drew Rasmussen, and Sutter Health Park.
No, I was talking about the Athletics. That's what I was talking about.
Right. No, I'm giving you all the tips that I've given you on the show so far.
Okay. Sutter, actually, I see it right here. Sutter Health Park. I thought you said Elf Park for a second, by the way, with all the conversations we've had.
I mean, wouldn't that be exciting, Travis, if you got to go to a game at a park named after Elf, a guy who you're interested in, that you're hanging out with?
What if it was Elf Night, as well?
It's a great point.
Like Christmas in July.
Elf bobblehead.
Yeah.
Elf bobblehead night?
That makes a lot of sense. I think everything's clicking, but
are they going to have an Elf bobblehead at Bet Bash?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to ask the powers up top, but let's talk about Sutter Health Park. Let's talk about the Oakland Athletics and the Houston Astros, which I like the Astros yesterday. Obviously, everyone liked the Astros. Yeah. It's definitely a good spot to kind of go back to them if you want to. They have the second highest team total on the slate. It's basically between Houston and the Dodgers. That's going to be the big debate tonight. Both these offenses will be chalk. There won't be one that's like, higher than the other. It's just going to be kind of split down the middle, in my opinion. Maybe Houston gets a slight lean over them because of what they did last night and because of their price tags, right? Price tags help make things work. Altuve, 4.5K. Diaz, 3.7. Christian Walker, 3.9. I mean, no one is above 5K on this team, so maybe their ownership gets pushed a little bit harder, mainly because of that. The Oakland side, I don't want to completely ignore them here, JT, because if you look at the pitching options, and I haven't mentioned them, the pitching options are Colton, Gordon, and Jacob Lopez. And you know what? Colton Gordon's been decent so far this year. He hasn't been bad. He's 6.7K. But do I think Colton Gordon is just this, the next Paul Skeens? No, he's not, right? Oakland, I think, is an interesting offense that we should consider in tournaments. We are also getting them lower owned than some of these other offenses. Their team total is still healthy. Wind is blowing out 10 to 15 miles an hour. So, hey, it is technically a good hitting environment on this slate. I think I like the A's a little bit more than the Houston Astros, mainly because of the ownership discrepancy. It seems like it's going to be like a 3x difference. And I think, as they say, the price is wrong, Bob, and it's wrong. I think that the ownership is wrong on the Athletics, and I think we should be higher on them. So if they're an offense I would like to get overweight on. Maybe you have some numbers on Lopez and Gordon that can give us a little bit of a lean on these young arms, but what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is a very interesting game because the ownership drive is going to be, I think, mostly because a lot of people don't know a lot about these pitchers. There, of course, you've got the A's bullpen that has been terrible, and then the small park, right? The minor league park and the wind blowing out. But when you look at these two pitchers, the strikeout upside for these guys is real. Colton Gordon, 25% strikeout rate, 3% walk rate over his last 4 starts. And I find nothing to suggest that that's not real, that he can't pitch to that moving forward. Now, flip side is he is giving up 2.25 home runs per 9 innings. Now you put him in a smaller park, and maybe those troubles are exacerbated a little bit, but the strikeout upside is real. Same thing for Jacob Lopez. Jacob Lopez, by the way, last 5 starts, 32% strikeout rate. 9 strikeouts against the Royals his last start out. 9 strikeouts against the Twins a couple of starts ago. And then, more importantly, in his home park, 8 strikeouts against the Philadelphia Phillies. He was pitching so well, they've moved him to a full-time starter role. They worked him up. They were putting an opener in front of him. And so these Astros are going to be chalk. I'm going to play a little Jacob Lopez because I believe that the strikeout upside is real. You can't not with a 32% strikeout rate. Again, Lopez too, though, 2.8 home runs per 9. So this is an interesting spot where if one of their locations are off, they're going to give up 4 or 5 home runs. So I think you're right. I think both offenses are in play here, but there's enough strikeout upside. 25% for Gordon, 32% for Jacob Lopez. We're talking about 6,300 for Lopez on DraftKings, 6,700 for Gordon on DraftKings. If one of these guys strikes out 9, 10 guys and gives up 4 solo homers, they're likely to be optimal. So I think you can play these pitchers. I also think these offenses are in good spots simply because of the amount of home runs, the park that it's in.
I'm on mute. Sorry. I did want to say, I think Steve had a really good stat, right?
I was just going to let you go.
Yeah, I know. I knew. I caught it real quick, but actually I caught it because when I was, I said something by accident when I was trying to update my Madden Sim stuff, and I saw the mic mute, and then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I was on mute. But back to the point. The point is, ballpark balance is a 36% increase in home run possibility. And like you said, JT, home runs are valuable, right? Like we play DFS for the home runs. I'm not trying to get a bunch of guys hitting singles, right? RBIs are great, but I need home runs. They have way more value.
Let me ask, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask a question. Stephen brings this up. Ballpark pal, right? Been around for 3 years now, maybe 4 years. Has anybody ever gone back and back tested what their spot is the day before? Because I feel like there's people in there, and I know Draft Sheet and actually Boynton look at this too. There's a couple of different things that they do, but I don't know how valuable that data is on a day-to-day basis. Like I know that and that's kind of how big of a stretch is that? Oh, in the smallest park with the 15-mile-an-hour wind blowing out, there's a 36% increase in home run possibility. I don't know if anybody's back tested that. I don't know if that's, that's not something that I'm ready to rely on yet. That's one thing. And then Uncle T, I get it about the 9 righties, but like left-handers, when they get to the major leagues and they're starting pitchers, they can get right-handed batters out. That's sort of what goes with it. So, and like I said, I know it seems like the easy way out, but the reality is you've got two very high strikeout pitchers, but also two pitchers who give up between 2 and 3 home runs per 9 inning. So that's why I think in tournaments you can take chances on these arms. Sorry, Travis, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your take on the ballpark pal stuff. I don't at all. But like, I don't think it's not nothing. And like, obviously, again, like the point you made, like, of course, it's the smaller ballpark. Right? It all makes sense. So it's just worth calling out. Hey, this is the spot where if runs are scored, there's more likely to be home runs, right? And those are things we're looking for in DFS. Chris, you are correct. I do have more on Madden Sims because I'm scooping someone. So that's why.
Wait. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
You have more invested in Madden Sims tonight than you do in MLB.
Because I'm playing cash games. Yeah, normally when you play cash games, you always have more invested. Yeah.
They have cash games in Madden Sims?
Well, if someone posts a head-to-head, yeah, I can grab the cash game, right? I can play you one-on-one. I know, so many questions.
I think you should. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Hey, the chat loves it. Okay, you gotta give the people what they want, and this is.
Do we know anyone else who play? Like, do you know any of the people that play? Like,
I actually know one. I actually know one person that I've met in real life that I've met through DFS that plays. I actually messaged him the other day because we were talking about it. But yeah. So, yeah. Okay. It's not a huge lobby, but there's people there. Actually, there's a Run Pure member that DMs me about it sometimes. Not all the time. His name's eChad40, I think. I think it's the 40, but yeah. So there's people out there. There's people doing it. Can we get a core? Play the Bengals.
What is? I mean, because there's Sims, right? So there's Sims, so it's not a real game.
Yeah.
What is the optimal strategy in Madden Sims?
Play tight ends. Tight ends dominate, so you want to load up on the cheap tight ends. There, you want a double tight end is the move, and the Bengals smash. The Bengals are on the slate, and they're gonna smash. The Bengals are so good. Like the Bengals are like big team would love it. They throw all the time. They're always tossing the ball. They're always going up and down the field. Their defense sucks. I mean, it's perfect. It's like this is so good watching you laugh about this. I love it.
Actually, tight ends and Madden Sims.
Before we get to
June 19th, you're playing Madden Sims.
Oh, yeah, you got Madden Pal. That's hilarious. Actually, I got one more funny thing for you, JT.
MaddenPal.com. What's the wind advantage according to MaddenPal.com?
JT, I got one more funny thing to say to you. I got one. Oh, here. Ryan said, I always pay down for quarterback and RB. Got to get different. I'm dying. Okay.
We got to get our partner DraftKings to give a deposit match for Madden Sims if you use an RPS code.
Okay. One more Madden Sims thing before we go, JT. Last week, I qualified for the online qualifier.
Yeah. Just when I thought I had all the topics to abuse Mangone about, he gives me a new one out of nowhere. Of course, it's all in jest and love. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to this last game so I can make lineups and you can go back to the Madden Sims.
Okay, one last thing, Jetty. They're on Twitch. You go to DraftKings Twitch. That's what you do, and you can watch the simulations. I put them on my other TV, and while I watch something else, I just kind of have it on in the background. The live finals have the penny arcade.
We're gonna watch the Madden Sims.
Oh. See, look, Brian. The chat is on fire. I can't. Oh,
Quinn, where are you? Riles wants to see you. She's sound asleep, man. She's sorry. She's been playing with Benji all week.
Yeah, she's sick of your shit. All right.
She's excited because she wants to watch the Madden Sims later.
She'd go to sleep watching them. I promise you that.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. All right, last game of the night. Let's go.
Yeah, last game of the night. We got the old rivalry game. The Padres and the Dodgers. Definitely a game to discuss. The Dodgers are one of the best teams on this slate. I would argue they're the second, chalkiest team because of, like I said before, the Houston Astros are just dirt cheap. They're going to fit as minis. They're going to fit as main stacks. Harder to get the Dodgers on your team because they got Ohtani, they got Teoscar, right? They got all of these big bats. So naturally, I think they'll be the second highest owned team on this slate. Do what you want with that information. The pitchers on the mound are Ryan Berger, who is not good at all, one of the lowest projected guys on the slate, and then Yamamoto, which Yamamoto, he's got a pretty good projection at 10-3. You could definitely make a decision on Yamamoto versus Strider. I might pass on both of them, to be honest. I think that's kind of the better play. I don't like the upside of those 10K pitchers that much today. Rather get to a Sanchez instead. And also, I don't want to attack the Padres, right? I also think the Padres offense, JT, kind of similar to the Mets, not the craziest today on this slate. On a 5-gamer, good offense like this, that's all going to be single digits. I don't think it's the craziest take to take some chances on the Padres. The problem is their run total is the lowest on the slate. That's why I like the Mets more. They have a way more healthier run total. They make a lot more sense if you're looking for a lower-owned offense. But again, 5-game slate, we got to talk about all the different angles. We got to talk about everything here. What's your thoughts on Dodgers and Padres?
Yeah, so I think in this spot, and Yoshi Yamamoto coming off of a couple of very difficult games. Padres not an easy matchup. They don't strike out a lot, but Yamamoto has the ability to navigate any lineup. We've seen that with him. I like this as a bounce back spot for him at 10-3. He's a pretty good pivot off of Spencer Strider. If you look at taking away the pitchers that I'm not playing, it naturally leads me to wanting to play a lot of Yamamoto at lower ownership. I like the Dodgers offense. I like Yamamoto, Ryan Berger. Not a bad strikeout percentage here, but I just don't think that it's going to happen against this Dodgers team tonight. I think this is a spot where they score a bunch of runs early. That may be all you get because this Padres bullpen has been pretty good, but pretty much off the Padres, on the Dodgers, and I do like Yoshi Yamamoto definitely much more than the field tonight.
Okay, yeah, I just think I like Sanchez more, as crazy as that sounds. I think Sanchez is probably my guy if I have to pick one or the other between the stud pitchers, right? And I don't mind getting cheaper, and that way I can jam in some of these other options. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Do you like the Mets way more than the Padres? Like kind of what I said, I think Mets just make way more sense if you're looking for a low-owned offense, JT.
It's a 5-game slate, right? So if there's a low-owned offense, for me it's going to be the Mets. I like the Mets, the Rays, and the Dodgers, and then I'm going to mix in A's, Astros, and not much else of any of these other teams.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. One last thing, Dodgers or Astros? Like, do you think they're the highest owned offenses? Like, how do you decipher between them, or is it just you don't really like chalky offenses that much? But again, I think this is a big talking point on the slate that people should discuss.
I mean, it's a 5-game slate, so it's certainly not like there's some offenses that I don't want to go. I guess Ryan O'Hearn back in this lineup for Baltimore, but I think there's a couple of things here, right? You have two excellent parks in Tampa Bay and Sacramento. So you got to look at those offenses. But I think the Mets, for me, Mets are the most interesting just because of the ownership discount and what I think about where Spencer Strider is right now. But if you're asking me about Astros or Dodgers, I'll probably go Dodgers by just a little bit.
All right. Dodgers by a little bit it is for our guy, JT Hayes. Let's get to our top pitchers of the day and then stacks, and then we'll get the plays of the day, and then we'll get on out of here. So, JT, I guess run through pitching pool a little bit. I would say for me, like I said, I've kind of made the the stance on Sanchez being my favorite option up top, but kind of give some of your pitcher takes real quick for the people that missed it, and then go into stacks.
Yeah. So straight fades for me are Morton, Holmes, Bergert, and probably Strider, leaning towards a Strider fade. Yamamoto is probably my number one tonight. I'm going to go with Yamamoto. I'll play Sanchez. I'll play Rasmussen. And then I'll have shares of Cabrera. I'll have shares of Lopez. I like Lopez and Gordon. I'm not sure what their ownership percentages are. I know it's probably not more than 10%, but I may go just 15% of each, just because, like I said, they're boom bust plays. They can give up 5 or 6 home runs and be dead, but they can also strike out 10 guys. And on a slate like this, where they're going to be low owned, if one of them has that upside game, then I think you have a really, really good shot to get to the top if you're playing those better offenses.
No, I agree 100%. I definitely want to look at some of those cheap pitchers. For me, stacks that I like, obviously Dodgers and Houston are great plays, right? But for me, like the 3 that kind of stick out, maybe are, I don't know, off the board, but not those top 2, right? Are the Mets as a really good leverage team. I like the Tampa call by you, and then I think Athletics are a really good one. So that's kind of where I'm at with my bats. What about you, JT? Give me your top 3 to 4 offenses.
Yeah, I'm going to go Rays. I'm going to play the offenses in Atlanta. It's also very humid here in Atlanta. There was some rain, a couple of thunderstorms throughout the day. So I'm going to play those guys, and then the Dodgers 4, and I'm going to have probably more 3, 2, and 3 mans of the A's and the Astros than I will 5s. I'll definitely have 5s of both, but I think a unique way to do this when you see the Astros coming in at such high ownership is, to play a Mets stack with 2 Stros and 1 Ray, or a Rays stack with 2 A's, something like that.
Yeah, I like that. A little 4-3-1. That's not bad. JT, hopefully it's nice and humid in the Madden sims in Washington, so the Bengals offense goes crazy for me in a couple minutes. But one last thing, JT. Play of the day. You got to play, or are we going to save it for the core? Are we going to save it for the members?
Well, remember, the core this afternoon, 4 outfielders, 5 home runs. Yoshi Yamamoto is my play of the day.
Yamamoto it is. All right. That is going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the show. Swing for the Fences. We will be back tomorrow, of course. So be sure to come over, hang out, hit that like, subscribe to the channel to check out all the content we got over here at Run Pure Sports. But for me, man, going to JT, we'll see you guys later.